Okay, so this last weekend I went to the Military Entrance Processing Station, or MEPS, and let me tell you, that was kind of an intense weekend. To start off, Sunday morning I had to meet my recruiter at his office at 7:30 in the morning, and it was a little bit chilly, but we went and we then started driving to a different recruit station 2 hours away, kind of like the regional central office. And that was, just 2 hours of driving straight right there, 2.5, however much it was. When we got there, I got to meet a bunch of other recruiters, and I got to meet a lot of people that were also going to go to MEPS with me. 6 young people were actually getting shipped to basic. 2 other young people were just going to get processed, just the same as me. And so the first thing that I had to do is do a urinalysis, which I was expecting and I didn't fear at all. But when it came time for me to go in the cup, this wouldn't happen. And so I drank a lot of water and a lot of water and a lot of water. And eventually I finally went and they said, "Yeah, you're fine." The guy told me I was pregnant and just like, I hope not. Okay. Uh, then, of course, since I had drinking so much water, it was just like a river. Yeah, I had to ask the shuttle driver once we got on the road again to pull over at a gas station. Not the best thing because it was painful. Um, got on a shuttle for another 3 hour trip down to another city where we actually got, had their processing. First thing we did is we stopped at a hotel. The military paid for it. We had all sorts of stringent rules, such as nobody allowed in your room except for you and your roommate, randomly assigned roommate. No men on the women's floor, no women on the men's floor. So that was very stringent, which I'm kind of expecting. Then I just sat around, bored, because we got there at 3:30 to 4, and we didn't have anything to do until 8 to 8:30. And I didn't really want to go wandering around the city because bad things could happen, and you could just like spend all your money or lose all your money. So I just stayed put, and I was bored. Then we, had a nice dinner, had our briefing explaining what was going to happen the next day, and we went to bed. Wake up call, 4:30 a.m. Uh, so then we ate breakfast, and we got on another bus to go basically just a couple of blocks, and we were going into a federal building, and so they had all sorts of stringent requirements. We had metal detection, we had all sorts of stuff. We went in and we got our name tag because you have to have one there, and we just started getting filtered and said, "You go here, you go here, you go here." The first thing they did is they looked at my ears and they said, "Yeah, we need to clean out the earwax on your left side." It's just like, oh, okay. I didn't think anything of it because I thought I had kept my ears clean. Turns out, maybe not. But then they also had like a hearing test. Push the button when you hear the beep. They had a vision test. Put your head up against this device and tell us the last line that you can read. Both eyes, near distance, far distance. Similar test, we're checking for color blindness. Another test for depth perception. Okay. And it was, one thing right after another, one thing right after another. At one point, they told me I'm going to go into this room with everybody else. We're going to work on paperwork. And if you touched the pen or pencil when you were not supposed to, you got yelled at. So sit there, follow directions. Do not try to get ahead of the person who's in charge of the room. Then, once that was done, I went and I actually took the ASVAB, Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, and that was a good 2.5 hours. And I didn't think anything of it. I, you know, the most interesting part was, to me, they gave you a diagram of 4 or 5 shapes and lines and connection points, and then they said which of the following 4 diagrams most closely resembles the one we just the when they are all put together. And so you had to like connect the dots in your mind and move everything around, make sure like the star that has a point in the center, and that point also matches up with the corner of a cube. You have to make sure that those match up. And like they do things like they'd put that same point on one of the points of the star instead of in the center of the star. Okay. Then let's see, what else did I do? Okay. Biggest, I did have a one-on-one interview with a doctor, because it was a physical. Had to get all the all the things crossed, make sure that I am physically fit to join. But then I had to do another urinalysis. This one being a much more detailed one. They actually had to watch. A little bit embarrassing, but the biggest problem, of course, was that I just couldn't go again. It's hard to go on command. And so I was drinking a lot of water, and it was cold water, and it was cold in the room, and so I was shivering. Like, I actually spilled it on myself because I was shivering so much at one point. And I was one of the last persons to successfully complete that test. And again, out comes a river. But this one was a much more detailed analysis. They actually are sending some of my urine to an actual lab to test for everything. Yeah. So then after that, I only had about 2 things left. One of which, because the first doctor I had was female and there wasn't a male chaperone available, I had to go to another doctor and get all of my privates inspected. And that was just, okay. Then I had to go to another room and with 4 or 5 other guys that were just in their underwear. And we had to do various exercises to make sure that the doctor could see our bone motion or our muscle motion and our joints and all that stuff, so that we were able to do everything. And one of the simplest ones was to just take our hand like this and just go like that. We had to do that with both hands. And, that's relatively simple, but the doctor is testing for specific things. So then after that, I was done. I had done all of the tests that I was expecting to do, and I passed everything. The one thing that did not allow me to swear in or to get a contract was some paperwork. So before you go to MEPS, please just do all of your paperwork. The unfortunate thing about it is, at some point, hopefully in the near future, I have to go back to MEPS and do some of that same stuff, like wake up at 4:30 again to hand them some paperwork and swear in. So we're looking at 10 to 12 hours of driving total for probably half an hour worth of material. But at this point, that little piece of paperwork is the only thing that is preventing me. But unfortunately, it's a waiver, and it has to go to a group of majors, and it has to go to a group of colonels, and it has to go to to at least one general, just to make sure that all of the legal stuff is taken care of. So that was my experience at MEPS. Cheers.